Testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 1 2. Hey there, hi there, ho there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior Reality Check, coming to you live, coming to you late, 15 minutes too late, 15 minutes later than I planned. But here I am with a little broadcast on BoobTube of YouTube, bringing you another broadcast of my little contribution to the internet's load of glurge, spleen squeezins. Can you dig it? I can dig it. I just can't hear it. What's happening here? And it's not working right again. And I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'm going to stop streaming. I'll be right back. 1 2 3, testing, testing. Testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 1 2. Hey there, here we go again. It's Spleen Squeezings! A vaguely disgusting title for a vaguely disgusting show. Really? Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Are you out there? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can ya smell me? Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to. I am trying to get my life on track. Here's what I'm doing here. This is really seriously, because I look at my life and I've become one of those. I'm 48, okay, and I've become a metaphorically speaking, I've become one of those do-nothing basement dwellers. It's really sad. It really is, and there's not much I can do about it. It's you see all these lectures people put up on everywhere. It says you don't want to end up like this. What do you do when you've already have ended up like this? Seriously, think about it. You know, if you don't do this, you'll ruin your life. Well, congratulations, your life is already ruined. How do you back out? Everybody's got a laundry list of things things you're supposed to be doing, but very little advice on how to be doing them. I don't know. Just a certain lack of cognitive gap bridging going on here. Basically, they tell you be a better person. Okay, how? You know. So what do you do? Okay, I have got to, okay, I'm trying to be responsible. I'm trying to get out of my ears. I have been sitting on my duff. Letting my health, letting my depression, letting my lumpen situation dictate to me how I will respond. And okay, let's see. Okay, I'm trying to be responsible here. I'm trying to, baby steps. Baby steps, I'm trying to be responsible. And let's begin by okay. I've got outstanding commissions that are still waiting to be done. So let's start by working on those commissions. And if I was a really disciplined person, I would just get up in the morning and work, and And I would discipline myself, and I would say, you can't do anything else until you get this done. But I have, how do you develop self discipline? All the best people, the best advice, the only advice I've ever really heard about is, you just have to practice at it. And I'm okay. But practicing itself requires discipline, so right back at square one. Let's see. So I guess we start. Let's just do it. Let's start. Try and be more ethical, more responsible, more everything I'm supposed to be. You know, because I am one of those individuals that's failed to launch. There's this one lecture I just listened to today. It was on YouTube. I can't remember the name of it. He's a very, very popular lecturer, psychology, psychiatry. I don't know what his field is exactly, but he's a college professor, and he's not very popular with the in crowd in the politically correct, because he says things that they don't like, and it just annoys them. And but I've forgotten where I was going with this. But he was lecturing today, and he's saying, you have to be sacrificial. You have to make sacrifices, and even if you don't want to, you're going to end up making those sacrifices anyway. He says the point is, we all start out as children. We also, he's making a Peter Pan comparison. Is that Peter Pan basically refused to sacrifice his childhood for the sake of, maturity, being able to have a relationship with a woman, being able to be something besides a lost boy. And he said, well, you consider that Peter Pan, the only adult in Peter Pan's life was who? Captain Hook. And what was Captain Hook? But Captain Hook was a metaphor for being an adult and having, the Grim Reaper after you, because having time pursue him to a grim end, and Peter Pan sitting there going, no, I don't want to sacrifice my childhood for this. In the end, Peter Pan has sacrificed everything else. He can't have a relationship. He can't have a real relationship with. With the girl, all he's got is he can't have a real maturity. He can't have any of the benefits of being an adult because he refuses to give up his childhood. And he refuses to fish or cut bait, and so he doesn't either, basically. Now, of course, there are some things that he's brushed over in ours. He's talking about all the 30-somethings who have done nothing with their life, who have ended up, being unmarried losers, living in their parents' garage, and playing video games and eating pizza all the time. That's the stereotype of the loser adult these days. Of course, he's ignoring a lot of social things that are going on that make these circumstances so common. Okay, most of these young men who are living in their parents go, yeah, some are bozos. I'm a bozo. I have to admit, I'm opposing. I have failed to make anything sufficiently worthwhile of my life in all these years, and my continual struggle is to try and get up on my own hind legs and be independent. And I've reached a point where I'm 48 years old, and my health just completely crapped out on me, and now I've gone from you know my chances of making something of myself have diminished dramatically with age. But the default accusation against young men today is that that they refuse to grow up. But a lot is being missed in that they are not being given room to grow. Is that a young man looks at what was the formula for their parents, for their grandparents, for their great grandparents, to you grew up. Back 100 years ago, it was back 100, 200 years ago, you grew up, you married, and then maybe you moved out on your own after a few years, and set up your own homestead, and plowed the field while the wife cooked the bread and baked the pies and shit. But for the past 100 years, 100 plus years, for the modern era, let's call the modern era the 19th through the 21st century. Broad, but fairly accurate, considering it was the industrial period that changed a lot of the formulas of what constituted being an adult, being a man, being an adult, being independent meant. Uh, but we live in a for our parents, for our grandparents, for our great grandparents, the general formula is that you grew up, you went to college, got you some education, learned you a book, then you went out and boom, nailed yourself a job. You got in on the ground floor, and you walked in with a nice clean shirt and a nice tie, and you gave them a good firm handshake, and boom, you had a job, and by God, you were on your way. And then you were making enough money that you could have yourself a little housewifey who would stay at home and iron the clothes and wash the kids and feed the dog and all that other crap. And have dinner waiting for you when you got home. That was the formula for the like post. For the pre. It was something from the from 1900 on. That was basically the general picture of what success looked like. Most people go only back to post World War, and the boomers generation. But let's be honest, this was a general formula for since the industrial era. But, and this is a big but, what our generation is, what our parents' generation, what our grandparents' generation is having trouble accepting is that a lot of the formulas, a lot of the background architecture that made up that lifestyle, housewife, car, garage, two-door garage, chicken in the pot and 1.5 kids and 0.75 pence and all that. First of all, it was not a 100% accurate picture because it was an average. It was a statistic. Okay? It was an average. It was an amalgamation, and the people were living all over the map in real terms. But also, the things that made up that life. The industrial era has changed. Industry and manufacture has changed. The economy has changed, and in many ways is in serious trouble. The landscape has changed. Marriage has changed. The introduction of many of the shall we say, less than ideal. Even many of the positives, many of the things that we generally accept as positives, changes, have negative side effects. The positive changes, like and I will put this up here: the idea of women being more secure in their rights and freedoms in our society. That was an overall good. But it also came with some unpleasant side effects, namely that many of the people who saw the equality movement, the equal rights movement, they went out and they didn't consider equal rights to be enough. And so you have the onset of militant feminism, which has rocked the boat, in the marketplace, in the workplace, in marriage. Let's put it this way: the people, your parents, your great parents, the boomer generation. Let's do the boomer generation, the pre 1960s era. Yeah, a guy could go out and get a job easy, but what do you think happened when the marketplace for employment got flooded with women? Suddenly, it got a lot harder to get a job. Suddenly, it got a lot easier to hire a lot of cheap employees. And so suddenly, the marketplace, where a guy could go out and get a job that would support him and a wife and a kid, disappeared, or became so rare that it was no longer the status quo, and people were still expecting it to be the status quo, and it's not. Militant feminism changed it so that women marriage has become a hostile environment for men. Yes, there were detrimental things about how women were treated back in the 1800s, the 1900s, and in the past, and those things were terrible, and those things needed to be changed, and they were changed. The problem is that too many other things got changed along with them. Uh, marriage no longer has any attractive, beneficial attractions for men. And so younger men are looking at marriage. Most of the young men we're looking at today that we're criticizing for not going out and committing, these young men are already the walking wounded, okay? Most of these men already lived through their parents' divorce. And they're looking at marriage and going, oh boy, where do I sign up to lose half my shit to somebody I hate? Oh, can't wait for that. And it resulted in the devaluation of marriage. Most people regard a first marriage. They don't regard a marriage as they regard it as a first marriage. As a trial. And you can imagine what the success rate of first marriages is going to be like when you consider people, when if everybody's going around thinking that a first marriage, is just a testing the waters thing. No, when society when people no longer regard marriage as binding, what do you expect to happen? The changes in divorce laws, in civil laws, in many ways, the legal landscape has become horribly biased against men and obscenely favoritist towards women. in ways that if they were reversed, there would be riots in the streets. It's become a terrible decade of selfishness on both sides. But only, yeah, men and women are largely selfish now. But at the same time, which side is being favored by the courts in their selfishness? And so, which one is being punished at every turn simply for being men? Uh, you know, uh, all the supposed markers of being a mature, contributing member of society have fewer and fewer benefits. Marriage has become a death trap for men, where they can literally lose everything else. Pursuing a career, uh, the way companies and corporations use people, use them up, wipe their butts with them and throw them away. Oh yeah, it takes more and more. It takes more and more of a fanatically devoted person to pursue a career in anything. Uh, you look at education has turned out to be higher education has turned out to be a massive fraud. Owning a home has turned, even owning your own home has turned out to be, a death trap. What does that leave? What of the mighty markers of adulthood are left that have not proven to be destructive in their own right? What's left? And you wonder why, and you wonder why the younger generation has no interest in quote unquote growing up. Look at society. It's no longer a matter of accomplishment and growth and maturation. It's quite frankly, after all that you've looked at, just surviving is considered a mark of achievement these days. It used to be that it used to be a mark. As they used to say, it used to be a mark of shame to live from paycheck to paycheck. Now it's considered an accomplishment, and some of us out here aren't exactly making it. Uh, I can speak for myself. Is it a lot of my energy enthusiasm is sort of burnt out by the fact that no matter how well I do a given month, by the end of the month I've fallen behind. Go through that for a year. Go through that for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and see how much energy you have left for striving to succeed. When you can't even strive and succeed at getting enough together to pay your rent on a regular basis. Uh, you know, uh, for the past Well, for the majority of the past decade, my life has been measured by the fact that I will manage to break even at some point through an act of miraculous charity, no less. And I will hit the ground running, and before I know it, I'm back. I'm back in the slough of despond. I've been, I'm back in the bog, and not only not losing speed, but I'm starting to go backwards again. And have that happen to you 2 or 3 times. Have it happen to you every year. Have it go through 4 or 5 years of having to make payment schedules with the IRS and see how much freaking enthusiasm you have for life. Everything you do feels like a waste of effort because it doesn't pay. We live in a day and age where you're expected to. Do you realize how maddening this is? We live in a day and age where people say with a straight face that you shouldn't expect a starting wage job to be enough to live on. How dare you expect a job to pay? That's the economy we're living with. That's the society we're living. That's the reality we're living with. Is it a miracle? Is it a wonder so many of us give up, go on the dole, or start parasitizing off our families? In Japan, it's called hikikomori. They become the stress and the pressure and the maddening pressure to succeed. It drives the young people. They'll seal themselves in their rooms and refuse to come out. And the parents will slide food under the door just to keep them alive, so that they don't have to deal with the smell. It's a generation of people imploding. I can't imagine how much I can't imagine what it's doing to them. The stereotypical success obsessed uh, Asian parent. Why not you get in Stanford? You study hard. You study hard. You get in Harvard. You get in Stanford. And then they find out that getting a job, getting a diploma from Harvard or Stanford can't get you out. They might as well have given you a roll of toilet paper on your way out the door with a pat on the back. You got a mortarboard, a robe, and a piece of sheepskin, and 6 figures in debt, and you're an even bigger failure than you were before you went in. I can't imagine what that's doing to. I can't imagine what that's doing to the alpha parent dynamic. You need to study hard. Give up your pastime. You need to study harder. Get in Stanford. And the kids saying, "Oh yeah, right. Screw Stanford, mom. Screw Stanford, pop." This is this. I think the I think I finally summed up why I'm always in such a tailspin. Why I'm struggling so hard to make everything roll forward is because I'm desperately looking for something, and trying to find something that pays for the effort. You know. And by and large, I'll be on. No, what I'm saying is that I'm not. I want to make one thing straight. The generosity of my fans, and and has been spectacular. And I've also tried to honor that and try to produce and create to you know you know you know make that meaningful. Honor and respect that. But the big picture is that I have been stumping away at this for over 20 years. 20 years. And it seems like looking back, every year it's been a little bit harder, and a little bit slower, and I've never had that big that big break happen. They never it's and maybe expecting the big $1 million break. There that's foolish. It's silliness. But you can't help to hope for it once in a while. But I've never had a big break, and the small breaks, don't pan out. I've said for years that one of the surest signs that a fad on the internet is about to dry up is when I get on board. I remember the first time I heard about, oh, you mean we can put our art up for auction? And I put up my art for auction, and I sold one piece, $50. And from there on, every piece I put up after that, even though it increased in quality, it dropped off until two or three, and then nobody was bidding, and then and then people were putting up bid and commission bids, and now they're doing this thing where people your character here bids, where they do a rough sketch and then usually of porn, and say for so much money we'll draw your character in this position with these three other characters. And people are making and I see people are making hundreds of dollars doing that, thousands of dollars allegedly, and yet I've been staying the course here, and it's like the ground's dried up, and I'll start my website, and I used to watch how the audience kept increasing and growing and growing and growing, and the audience grew, but the income from the site stalled out, and I started doing all these things that got me in deep, and like I say, I do I did the Kickstarter, and I did a GoFundMe but the Kickstarter I couldn't, and now I'm having to. The Kickstarter has now become a debt that I have to repay, and I am miles beyond. I'm 48 years old, and I'm overweight. I'm in bad health in many ways, and I am beyond the point where I have the energy that I had in my 20s. And remember, I've been doing this for 20 years, so back when I was in my mid 20s is when I really started on the internet. Now I'm in my late 40s. I'm a year and 3 months from turning 50, and the only reason I'm still beating this dead horse is because it's the only one in the stable. I want to be a better person. But these days I feel like I'm out of better person stuff. I used it up ages ago. Ran out. And I'm not happy with me. I'm angry with myself for having. There was a day, there was day and age. I was already getting kind of chunky, but then I'd see one of these guys get on the bus, you know, and he'd take up like 3 seats in the handicap section. I'm like, I'm not lying either, man. Shall we bring you Wookiee and the Solo and the Wookiee? Seriously. And I would think to myself, I know I'm getting fat, but I'm never going to let myself get that way. I wait, and the last time I got on a scale was in therapy, and I weigh 450 pounds. About 100 pounds of that, I estimate, is in my legs from the swelling and the edema. But the rest of it, that's all me, baby. That's what I've become. And let's just say it's killing my will to live. And I got up this morning. I said, okay, I'm gonna try and get on the low carb. I'm gonna try the low carb thing. And for breakfast, I had apple, and orange, and some crackers and stuff. Fruit breakfast. And then for dinner, I had an entire box of chicken stuffing. Well, for lunch and dinner, let's say that. I made some. I had some stovetop stuffing. I made up a box of stuffing, and I threw in some canned chicken. Threw in some chicken soup. And sort of made a casserole and ate it, all of it. And 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 another little bit of me died inside. You know, nothing big, just another chunk of my soul. It would take me a couple of years to waste away to hideous fat man. I would have to lose 100 pounds to get down to the level that once was registered in Guinness as the fattest man who ever lived. It's all cumulative, you see. You get overweight after a certain point. The side effects, the other illnesses that come in with aging and gaining weight, it's a feedback loop. Ah, wrong one. And then it's between your between your metabolism and between being too unhealthy to get out and run around. and it just escalates. It balloons, if you'll pardon the pun. This is why a lot of people, a lot of guys like me end up, video games so much. Because because in video games, you have at least the illusion of success, of progress, of accomplishment. And by and large, most of the games that, I remember back in the day, you paid a quarter for 3 lives, and that was it. But and if you went at it too long, you paid a penalty of no money in your pockets. But the home video games changed all that. Yeah, now you play a game, you can die 1,000 times and pick up where you left off, pick your character up, dust them off, and go at the problem again. It's the sense of accomplishment of playing that game uh, is a salve in a way for many of the frustrations and failings and struggles that the average person goes through in day-to-day life. Because it's really painful. You need to feel some sort of sense of accomplishment in your life, and vacuuming your rug. Literally, it is amazing. When you really hit rock bottom, you'll cling to any sense of accomplishment. I managed to finally get I managed to get all the bags of trash out of my living room. Got them down to the curb by myself. Swept up the area. Now I'm cleaning up one step in cleaning up my living room. And just desperately clinging to that sense of accomplishment, even as it slips through my fingers. And the main reason I'm trying to clean up this living room so much is because I want to get a new bed. And I want to put it in here in the living room, where it's closer to the main heater, and so I can put my whole life in one room, basically, more or less, and make it easier to keep this place warm. Because I used to live in an apartment that was smaller than the living room of this trailer. And one thing for sure, I didn't have to worry about getting froze in the middle of winter. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is the next Old Vic comic. Very rough sketch. Gonna be a bit racier than Mussy. Uh, it's getting harder and harder to justify not doing racy artwork and such, because I need the money, and I think my parents. I think I could morally and ethically deal with it is. I'm coming to the conclusion I could more easily deal with the embarrassment and shame, the embarrassment of doing salacious work, than I could deal with the shame of being evicted, or the shame of ending up in court with the IRS, or because God doesn't seem to see fit to put any light of hope on my horizon these days. I'm going to have to do something. I've got 3 months to try and pull probably about $1,000 to $2,000 out of thin air, just to mail it to the IRS for this year, for this past year. Why? Social Security. Self-employed, I have to pay Social Security. I have to pay into you pay it too. You just don't see it in your paycheck. It disappears before it ever gets written down on your paycheck. So and after having drawn the girls of summer, I find my ethics have gotten a little more flexible, more elastic than they probably ought to be. But Okay, moving up. Posting on AOE. I don't know why, but my brain's skipping a move. What is AOE? Do you mean Archive of Our Own? That's AO3. I got more, My Little Hero Academia. I don't even want to look at that now. Okay, okay. I'm just. I'm doing some quick sketches here. Get some sketch down. Get these comics sketched. 75. You know, come on. I can only do so much. You know, everybody can only I wish I knew what it was. You know, it's. You got these things. You see these things all the time. Wild and crazy successes. Somebody goes. They create something, and suddenly, Flappy Bird's crazy kind of success. I swear, I still want to punch the guy that created Flappy Birds for him panicking and removing it and getting rid of all the. Like, you idiot! There's nothing more insulting to a starving man than watching another man throw away food. You know what I'm saying? That's the feeling I get. Here I am. I have created how many different comic strips over the years? I've got like half a dozen on my currently on my web page alone, and none of them, none of them have struck the spark that started the fire. You know what I'm saying? None of them have hit the I've got a lot of people that like generally like Tales of the Questor and Nip and Tuck and Goblin and all the others, but it's always a niche. It always plateaus out at a few thousand people, scattered all over the planet to boot. Yet some dingleberry sits down, draws a circle with a smiley face on it, writes "Have a nice day" under it, and he sells millions of dollars in merchandise throughout the 1970s. Why? Why is this never? Why is this never going to happen to me? How many different things must I be doing wrong for success? I swear to God, it's like success sees me coming down the road and dives into a ditch to escape me. You got people that, that just, you got people out there that, when it comes to doing something, it's like it's raining soup for them. And they've got the biggest bowl in the house. Me, I'm the one that ends up holding the sieve. It's making me just an itsy witsy bit bitter, okay? In case you haven't guessed. I mean, my God, I am on the internet. I am on the single largest network of human beings on the planet. And and no matter where I poke, I can't get a response. But somebody else, draws a stick figure with boobs on it, and they're off to the races. I'm not particularly talented. I'm a bare average. I'm a medium. I'm medium low. You go on any art archive, DeviantArt. My word, some of the artists on there just unbelievable. And many of it is just amateurs, people doing it for fun, and they are superlative quality. And I sit there, look at this, and I look at what they're doing, and look at what I'm doing. I'm going meh. And I feel like my life plateaued in my 20s, and I didn't even really have a fun 20s. You know what I'm saying? All these other people talking about the wild and crazy living they did in their 20s. All the partying and the boozing and all the crazy stuff they did. We just went crazy, got on a road trip and went to Majorca, or wherever Majorca is. Uh, but me, uh, you know, no, nothing like it. And my life, my life from my 20s to my 30s, and from my 20s well into my 30s was just an embarrassment of mistakes. I feel I feel like I've I've done nothing in my life, all my life, but miss the boat. You know why, why, uh, so-called, why, quote unquote, failed, young men, they get into gaming and all this other dorktacular stuff. They get into gaming or card games or video games or going to comic book conventions year round. Doing nothing. That's their entire life. I wonder how many of them are clinging to these things, just because, clinging, to role playing games and card games and Dungeons and Dragon sessions and video games, because that transient pseudo illusionary sense of success or achievement is the only thing that's keeping them from eating the end of a shotgun. I know that's bleak. That's bleak. I'm feeling kind of bleak at the moment, so you'll have to pardon me. I'm just I'm doing quick sketches to just get the outlines down. I really don't want to focus on anything right now. Just working on one drawing all night would have me climbing the walls. So this is for the old Victorian comic strip. 75 strips. This one here, it makes number 75. I don't want to be like I don't want to be window capture 3, window capture 2, window capture 1. There we go. If Izuku's a pony, does he still get with the Gravity Girls? Same question for Ladybird. Yeah, well that is an issue. Is a romance story possible for those characters? Well, you've only got so many options here. One, they go ahead and have a romantic relationship with a normal human being, despite being, in a pony's body. That just disturbing as hell. Uh, Two, they turn back into a human. Or three, their romantic interest turns into a pony to be with them. Those are your three options, really. Or four, they go back to Equestria and find their true love there. So there's only so many. There's only really only three outcomes that three uh, more or less tolerable outcomes you can have for those stories, romance wise. I think it's fairly obvious that in Ladybird there's going to be a lot more people transformed into equestrians. So that's one romance issue that's covered. But in My Little Hero Academia, My Little Hero, uh, well, if I tell you, I'd be giving away where the story's going to go. So I don't know if I can tell you. So probably not going to tell you. I'm feeling a little bummed too because uh, my World of Warcraft account just ran out of money, and well, it runs out tomorrow, and I still haven't managed to get the Volperons yet. These new species. Every time I turn around, there's a new clever little disappointment for me, waiting for me. I'm like, oh boy, cute little fox people to play on World of Warcraft. I can't wait until until the race is introduced. I'm like, well, what do you mean they're an allied race? Uh, which basically means you have to earn them and unlock them by fulfilling tasks. First, I find out, oh, they're going to the Horde. They're going to the Horde. Like crap. And then I find out, they're going to be an allied race, which means that you have to jump through all the hoops. And first I find out what? You wait a minute. I have to have a level 120, a maxed out level Horde character before I can have a Volperin character. Uh huh. And wait a minute, This maxed out. I have to have one character. I have to have exalted status with with this or that other group in the game in order to, get the Volperin character. Yeah, I got to do that too. Exalted status basically is you play in the game, you do all these missions, and you earn little tiny bits of points of renown with the various groups, reputation, and it starts out. You start out neutral, and then it goes friendly. Then there's honored, revered, and exalted, and of course each level you need several thousand points to level up. And currently, the character I managed to get him to up to 120, but he's only at friendly status with the faction. It's like, oh crap! And so, and then because I don't have any money in the bank, I had to cancel my account, so it ended this month. and I'm going to have to wait until sometime in the future when I have $20 to spare for another month. I would love to order one of their 6 months uh, uh, applications, one of subscriptions, but I don't have the money for that, and I'm never, unless something extraordinary happens to my finances, I'm not going to have that money to spare at any given time. And no, if a pony and a human married one another, they're not going to have a centaur. No. No, thank you. Man, this conversation, I'm just rambling here. I'm looking over here at the chat window and responding to random commentary from the viewers, and this has got to make a really confusing, one-sided conversation here. It's no wonder I don't. I have 160 subscribers to this live stream. 160. I've only had 2 people show up in the live channel. But 160 people are subscribed to this? I'm like, dang, these people have got to be bored out of their minds to be subscribed to me. Holy crap. Of course, I'm subscribed to all sorts of channels I never check. Yeah. There ain't gonna be a centaur. Not gonna be no, thank you. No weird joke hybrids. No, thank you. It gets me. I need to lose weight, and I'm thinking I've got a chocolate cake mix over there and a can of chocolate frosting, and I'm probably going to end up baking that cake and frosting it and eating it before I go to bed tonight. That's probably what I'm going to do, because I really need chocolate right now. A lot of milk too. I need to get milk. It's just. I'm a photograph of a self-wrecked life. Maybe it's morbid. Maybe the reason I have 160 subscribers is because morbid fascination, like watching that kid, the Britney Spears kid. Leave Britney Spears alone. It's watching somebody, have a total mental meltdown on the internet has got to be entertaining to somebody. Yeah, one of the things I have established, I got so tired. I got so tired of all these stories where a human goes to Equestria and the ponies are all over him like sweat on stink on sweat, and how many stories where the guy ends up, where the protagonist ends up marrying one of the ponies, and I'm like, oh, jeez. Oh, that's one of the things that I had. I mean, like ungrip people. Just I don't know what the story is behind that, and I don't want to know. I've seen stories where they turn into a pony, but this is an entirely different ball of wax here. That's why one of the points I made in the Rise of Darth Vulcan is that uh, uh, Chrysalis tries to seduce Darth Vulcan. She figures, she's a changeling. She lives in a world with dozens of different races, and she's disguised herself as one or all of, more than, one of them, and at a time, and she's and her species obviously uses seduction as part of their hunting method. So it's all the same to her. But to him, he makes it pretty clear that she's about as sexually attractive as a lawn chair. He's like, oh hell no, just get away, get away, get away, get away. Same with the audience. The Arcturus is fond of the ponies. One in particular that he's deeply emotionally fond of, but there's nothing uh, physical between them. Again, there's no appeal between them, and there's no appeal going the other way either, physically speaking. They have less in common than he has less in common with them than he would with a stalk of broccoli. So it's one of the conflicts of the story that someday is going to be resolved. If by some divine grace or horror I end up living the next 100 years and manage to finish all the stories that I've started. I could finish them right now. Write one paragraph. Rocks fell and everyone died. The end. But that wouldn't be any good. I'm a little on the rack about that. I don't know. You heard the news? They captured one of those. They captured some terrorist leader. They had to get aerial photos of the guy. He's that huge. This guy is seriously, so fat he makes me look skinny. That fat. And Twitter has been having a field day. They got one comment here. Someone give him away for thin mint. And I got another one. He doesn't understand what the word fatwa means. And he's supposed. I mean, the guy. The guy. The photographs they have being shipped around in the back of a truck because this is the only thing big enough for him. And I'm not kidding you, man. This guy, circus man fat. Hard, just it makes me look normal fat. Uh, and just hard. Well, let's see here. Let's see if we can get it here. That's not it. There we go. That's not it either. I'm trying to show you the photo, but it's not letting me here. Let me try this. That's not it. This is strange and a half. Background. Well, that's strange. Well, it's just unbelievable. This and Ali Y Al Barudi. He's a ISIS Mufti. He is the for the life of me, I can't. For some reason, my it won't show the. It won't show. I don't know what this is. Oh well, another glitch in my software. Heck of a life. Okay, here I am, and it has been an hour and a half, and I am quite flat out short up for anything else to say. This is it. This is me logging on, uh, venting my spleen, so to speak. Hence the name. And then when I'm out of spleen, we're done. I got nothing else. I'm sorry, folks. I really got nothing else. Nothing else. And I'm running out of steam fast. And so I'm going to call it a night. And wish you all a thank you. And shake my hat. I've got a coffee.com site, www.ko-fi.com/RHJunior. If you want to throw a couple of bucks in, you know, I've got PayPal button on my homepage, and I also have Patreon. I could go back to reading books. That's something I'll say that for next time. Don't know what I'm going to read though. I'll find something. Okay. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good night, alright? Thank you.